Can assets be transferred outside of probate? That's our discussion today. Stay tuned. We're getting started right after this. Hey everybody, this is Kes Stadler, affectionately known as the Singing Realtor. I am an associate broker with Atlanta Communities with 25 years of residential real estate under my belt. I am also the founding member and owner of Real Estate Probate Trust and Help. We offer a lot of good advice for family members going through an estate or a probate. So we're going to get into some of the things that you need to know, and we're getting started on the video right now. Be sure to stay till the end. I'll give you a bonus material that you'll definitely want to hear about. So first thing on the list is, everybody always asks, can I transfer assets outside of probate? And the answer to that is maybe. It depends. If the decedent or your family or the attorney did a really good job planning around probate, then it is very possible that that can be done. But planning has to be done before your loved one passes in order to make it much easier to transfer the assets without going through the probate process. Here's a couple of times that you can do it. Okay, if the assets are held with joint right of tenancy or joint right of survivorship, then yes, they can be transferred. In real estate terms, that's what we call when a husband and wife, when two partners, one passes, the property is automatically deeded over to the other partner or wife or husband. That's how I always sell all my houses. That's what I always recommend, so then you don't have to go through the probate process. So that's an asset with a home. If you have joint right of tenancy, then that can be done. Okay, another time that you can go ahead and transfer is if the assets are held in a living trust. So pretty easy to set up a living trust. I have attorneys that I would recommend for you, especially if you're in Metro Atlanta, that can help you get that living trust set up, but you got to get it done right away. Don't procrastinate on something like that. Okay, and another time you can transfer the assets is if the decedent specifically noted in the will certain assets would go to certain people. So it has to be very specific. Then you can skip or go around probate, but it's got to be very detail oriented. So you may want to get a professional to help you with that. But if it's written out and spelled out in plain English for everyone to understand, then yes, it can be done. Okay, and one last thing on this is the first part of this process is if you've done a good job or the attorney or the decedent has done a good job, it makes your life as the executor much easier. In some cases, and I've had this happen before, where the executor was able to basically delve out all the assets, didn't even have to get into probate because it was so well stipulated in the will, it made it easy for the executor. So if you hire our team to help you with the process, we might be able to give you some of that guidance and you can just skip that whole process altogether. So let's talk. Send me a message, comment below. Okay, another thing that people always ask me is, does my small estate qualify for skipping probate? And basically, as that implies, if the estate is so small, if there really aren't assets, if there's really not a lot to delve out or to give to the beneficiaries, then in many cases, smaller amounts, you can skip probate. But that number depends state to state, and if you're here in Georgia, send me some information and I'll give you those details. But yes, it can be done on what we call a small estate, but there are certain numbers that have to be matched in order to qualify. So, okay, another way you can possibly transfer assets without going through probate is if all the decedents, all the beneficiaries are willing to accept the will and no one's wanting to fight or contest the will, then in many cases, if everybody's really getting along and it truly is a good situation, then yes, you can transfer the assets outside of probate. If there's a hint of a glitch or something that might come up later, I wouldn't recommend that, but that is an option as long as everyone is getting along and everyone is willing to put in writing what their feelings are. That way you're protected as the executor, the estate is protected. Attorney can walk you through that process. But yes, it can be done. Certain stipulations need to be met, but that'll keep it out of being a contested will, which no one really likes. At time of loss of a loved one, the last thing you want to do is be fighting over their assets. So if there's a way to get away from that, then I would definitely recommend it, and I can help you through that process. Let's talk about that if you have any questions. Okay, if probate is necessary, is my certain state, your certain state, do they have certain guidelines for how the probate process should work? Okay, if your state is a uniform probate code, what we call a UPC, then it's basically a standardized probate process. So that makes it much simpler. Like for example, where I sell real estate in Atlanta, Georgia, we use GAR forms, which are Georgia Association of Realtor forms. And those are standardized throughout the whole state. It makes it simplified. Someone buying a house in Savannah or all the way up in the North Georgia mountains can use the same form. So the same thing applies. If they have the UPC and it's approved, then the probate process can go much smoother, much quicker, and save everyone money, time, trouble, and the heartache of dealing with possibly, having to deal with a loved one's loss and then fighting over assets. So I can help you find out if the UPC is an option in the state where you live or where your loved one lived. Okay, one other question is, does the estate involve complicated assets? And that'll help you decide if probate's really necessary. If the assets are pretty straightforward, maybe some savings accounts, life insurance, a home, a car, then yes, it can be done and it can be simplified. It just really depends on how detailed the assets are. It can get complicated when the assets include commercial real estate or a business or assets that are divided in some weird kind of form. Then something that's not just easy cookie cutter to kind of figure out value and to transfer to the beneficiaries, then yes, you can't do the shortcut process on that, especially commercial real estate and businesses. So you got to keep that in mind. Okay, and one other thing on the business or commercial property is that's where you really want to get a professional appraiser involved, someone that handles commercial, or if it's an actual business, someone that handles profit and loss, and their statements gives you an idea of the overall value of the business, because in many cases you're not dividing up just the building, you're dividing up the accounts or the assets. It can get complicated. So get a professional involved to help you figure out fair market value for that property, for that commercial land, whatever it might be, a fleet of trucks as an example. So if you need some help on that, we can give you some guidance. Okay, something else people ask me is there enough money in the estate to pay the debts, the bills? If you're fortunate enough to be able to pay all the bills, get everybody settled that needs to be settled and accounted for, and a little bit of money left over, then that can make the process straightforward and may not require probate. It gets real tricky if it gets tight or if there's a lot of money on the other end. I have another video where I talk about assets over $1 million winds up being handled in a different form. So it just depends on the value. So the good place to start is to get a licensed real estate broker like myself or a licensed appraiser to tell you the value, because usually the largest asset that people are trying to figure out and divide is a residence, your loved one's home. So get somebody involved that's a neutral party that can give you a fair market analysis, and then you can decide how to handle the probate depending upon how much money is left in the estate to pay the bills and then what's left over after all the debts have been paid. Okay, the last one is kind of a bonus. Is the estate too small to have to worry about paying taxes, especially federal taxes? So, as I promised, most people don't have to worry about federal taxes on an estate. That bar is set pretty high, so it just can kind of vary depending upon your situation, but more than likely you're going to be okay. You will have to pay some state taxes, you will have to settle up local taxes, but federal, you're probably going to be all right and get away without paying that. Right now in the United States, 13 states impose their own set of taxes for state taxes. And in many cases, they have a minimum to really get involved with the taxes at $1 million. So if you want to know if your state is one of the 13, just put a comment in below and we'll be happy to get you that information. Okay, and the last thing is, I am a real estate professional. I am an estate professional, a probate professional. I'm not a CPA. I'm not an attorney. So consult legal advice or a certified public accountant to help you with these numbers. I'm just giving you an overview. My team and I are here to give you more information. If you'd like an attorney here local in Atlanta, I have a list of qualified attorneys that can help you. I also have several CPAs that I use that are very familiar with estate planning and estates, dealing with living trusts, everything that goes into it. So send me a comment, be happy to help you out on that. And thanks again for watching. And don't forget, help my channel grow. I'm really here to help people, especially in the Southeast. So subscribe and like my channel, share it with your friends. Let me know in the comments if there's something you want me to talk about. And for now, signing out, the Singing Realtor and executor and a probate specialist. My mom passed and I had to deal with her estate many years ago. So I'm here to help you. Take care and have a great day.